Alright, hello and welcome back to the channel. So, it is a Sunday afternoon, and we'll see how many people are available to show up for this live Q&A. As always, when I have time, I like to get as many videos out there as possible. I'm finding that these Q&A sessions are not only a lot of fun for me, but they seem to be popular with people and help me get this message out there of self-empowerment. Just let me be clear about what the whole point of all of this stuff that I do is. The whole point of all of the things I do is your self-empowerment. Oops, my little thing fell down. I'll try and fix that later. The whole point of everything that I do is, in my mind, for your self-empowerment. And whether we're talking about chakras, whether we're talking about the matrix, whether we're talking about energy work, whatever aspect of spirituality we're talking about, my main focus is to help you feel more empowered and to take control of your existence, so that you are no longer having to be a slave, having to feel dependent upon anything other than your own power within you. And I'm here to tell you that that is your destiny. So I'll get started with a little bit of background on this. We're going to be talking today about the chakras and how the chakras, first off, what they are. There's a lot of misinformation on both sides about what the chakras are. That, among your typical New Age teaching, they have some incomplete information about what the chakras are, what their function are, how to connect with them, how to use them, how to achieve enlightenment, quote unquote. And then on the other side, there's a whole slew of people that are saying that that the chakras are evil implants of aliens that are used to suck out the life force energy, and that is at the very least incomplete. See, here's the thing, there's always truth in some teaching. If it's popular, the reason why it's popular is because there is some truth to it. There's something about it that you resonate with. The question is whether or not you're being taken advantage of, or whether or not people are empowering you. That's number two. And I suppose number three is whether or not somebody is giving incomplete information, because many human beings don't have the capacity to absorb and digest the whole truth about a spiritual practice. So a lot of people need things in a two-dimensional format so that they can get a head start. And from there you can build. So that's the real question: is what somebody's telling you, is it the truth? Is it used to manipulate you? Is it a lie? Or is it just simply a two-dimensional symbol that helps you grab onto it? So my attempt is to work through all of those and to do my best to share with you what the chakras really are. And I'm willing to bet at the end of this video you'll see that the majority of the teachings out there are at best giving you incomplete understandings of what the chakras are. And, what do you do with them? What do you do with this information? So I'm also all about giving you practical advice as to what to do with this knowledge, because what's the point of it if it doesn't actually do something practically for you to make you more healthy, more happy, and to give you more control over your life on all areas of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. Really, what's the point of any teaching if it doesn't give you practical ability to take control of those areas of your life, to improve those areas? So that is my goal. So, out of curiosity, I'm going to see how many people are online on a Saturday. We had a bunch of people that showed up on a Friday. Oh, today's Sunday. Did I say Saturday? See, the other thing about me is my brain is going so fast. Sometimes I don't finish my sentences, or I'll say the exact opposite of what I want to say. Sometimes I'll want to say it's Sunday, but I'll say it's Friday or something like that. So anyway, try and just Forgive me if I'm a little, if I go off on tangents and I'm hard to understand, but I'm doing my best. A lot of information coming through my brain all the time. So let me take a look and see who's online, if anybody. We got 16 people already. All right, so 16 people already online, which is great. So let's go ahead and get started with a little bit of background on this. So what are the chakras? Well, chakras are not a new idea. So, there's a lot of people with some following some newer ideas about what the chakras are and how to get rid of them or all that kind of stuff. Understand that the chakras are a very old idea. They're a very old concept. One of the main things that we have to do to understand what they are is we have to clear up some confusion just from that perspective, from the older understanding, right? So let's just assume right now, for argument's sake, that the chakras do exist and they are a part of our spiritual reality. So what are they? People, want to study chakras. They want to meditate on the chakras. They want to open the chakras. And people are doing it, whether you're wanting to open the chakras or remove the chakras, you're doing it for the same reason, which is you want to be free, right? Enlightenment is about being free, about not being trapped. Escaping the matrix is about being free. It's about not being trapped. It's about not being a slave. Reaching enlightenment so that you're free of pain and attachment and illusion, if that's your goal, is because you want to be free. You want to feel good. Let's just be honest. We don't do anything if it doesn't feel good, even if it's the idea. Somebody was on here and said, asked the question, what about the joy of suffering? Well, we could argue that whether or not that's actually there's joy in suffering, but at the very least in her mind, there was the possibility of the idea of having joy in suffering, which the bottom line was even the idea of that being a good thing gives her some measure of feeling good, even if it's just an intellectual idea. So let's just be honest with ourselves. Even if you're wanting to become truly enlightened and you want to be the most spiritual person in the world, you do it because you want to feel good, period. So let's just be totally honest about that we're doing this to feel good. And there's nothing wrong with feeling good, and if what you want is to be super enlightened and be a saint or be whatever it is, an ascended being of light, it's because you want to feel good, and even if it's because you want to liberate other people, that thought makes you feel good. So that's what we're here to do. And so the misunderstandings about the chakras are that there's a confusion as to what is the energy involved. And there's a lot of people out there teaching techniques and meditations who tell you that if you fill your body with life force energy, that will open the chakras. There's a big confusion between Kundalini and life force energy. Life force energy, other words are chi or prana. Chi is the Chinese word, and prana is the East Indian or the yogic word. Kundalini is a yogic word. So first off, let's just get rid of that misunderstanding. If Kundalini was life force energy, they would just simply call it prana, but they don't. Prana is life force energy. It's connected to the breath, and Kundalini is connected to the chakras. So if they were the same thing, they're perfectly capable of using the same word. Since they're two completely different words, that tells you at the very least that there's some evidence that they're two completely different energy sources. So let's clear that up. Kundalini and prana are not the same thing. Kundalini and chi are not the same thing. They are connected, and one can influence the other. In fact, they do. But they're not the same. You can have a lot of Kundalini in your body, but not necessarily have a lot of life force energy. And you can certainly have a lot of life force energy and not have Kundalini awakened. So we're going to talk about what Kundalini awakening is. We're going to talk about, should you remove your chakras? There's a big thing about this. Should you remove the chakras? Are chakras implants that are meant to keep you from achieving enlightenment? Are they there to keep you trapped? And so I'm hoping that by the end of this Q&A that you will have a better understanding, at least for yourself, and you've cleared up a lot of the misunderstandings that maybe even you have about these subjects. So I'm going to open it up for questions before I get into anything. Before I do that, I want you to look at the list of what the chakras are, what they correspond to, traditionally speaking. And I'm going to put it in layman's terms so that you have a better understanding. I'm going to see if I'm going to fix my little background here because it's bugging me. And then I'll see if there's any questions. The best way to interact with me on these Q&As is to ask a question. A lot of people come on here and they want to dump their opinion. And I can't stop you from doing that, but if I see somebody just spouting their opinion about something, I'm going to go right past it and I'm going to go to the question. I'm not interested in getting into a dialogue with you because here's what happens. If you put up a statement, I usually, if I engage, it's because I'm seeing something that I find to be a mistaken understanding, and I'm gonna pick it apart. A lot of people get their feelings hurt when I do that. So if you don't want to get your feelings hurt, ask a question. That way you can hear my opinion, and then you can make a decision on your own time whether or not you agree with that or not. Okay? So that's the best way to make use of this. So here's the list of technically what the chakras are, where they're located, and generally speaking, what their function is. All right, so now I need my glasses for this. Let me take a look and see what the questions are, if there are any. Now we got 15 people. We lost at least one person. Do chakras increase vibrations? It's a really general question. I'm not sure what you mean by vibrations. I don't know what is it that you want out of that question? What do you want to know about vibrations? Chakras, if we assume that chakras exist, then vibrations are vibrations. So that what you're really asking is, how do chakras? When do chakras? So give me a better question than that, because just a better, more in-depth question, because I'm not sure what to do with that. All right. Frequency and vibrations. Yeah, again, what do you mean by frequency? Are you saying that you like increased frequency? See, here's, again, I'm not picking on you, but it's really important that when we talk about spiritual subjects that we have a consensus. Again, we have to have a basic understanding of what we're talking about. So if I'm operating from an assumption that higher vibrations are good, right, then I'm going to interpret that based on that. If you're saying that higher frequency is good because you have that belief, then we have to understand that. So the first thing I want to do is address your assumption. Why are you wanting to know about frequency and vibration? Do you think that's a good thing, and is that something that you want? Then I have a better, I can answer your question better. So think about what it is that you believe and why you're asking the question. That's just a general rule for everybody. A lot of people don't think. I'll give you an example. I won't mention any names, but people ask me questions about certain teachers, and so I go and I don't know anything about them, and I go and I look at their stuff. And there's one teacher that's very popular, having to do with exiting the matrix, and this person throws out statements with, number one, not even explaining what they mean by the statement, and number two, where they got that information. And so people are just gobbling up these statements and assimilating them without even knowing what they think about what somebody is saying, right? So in terms of the matrix, what is your assumption? Do you believe the matrix is good or bad? Do you believe that the matrix, that you are trapped Or do you believe that the matrix is, the way that I teach it, that it's the path of weird, it's time, space, that it's Maya? What is it that you believe? These are very important. If you understand what your basic assumption is about anything, then you'll be able to understand and absorb just what somebody is teaching you. Okay? So, all right, let me see if there's any questions. Again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I want to help you. And I want you to get the most out of what I teach. And so I want you to think. I want you to think clearly about what it is you want, what it is you believe, and what is it that I'm saying. All right, so it looks like, again, we're having trouble with the stream, but it looks like we're back, so I don't know when it stopped. Anyway, let's take a look here and see. Have you heard about Jay Seals? I don't know. Is that a person? So no, I haven't heard about that. How do we create the most balanced flux in them? I'll answer that. Do they spin clockwise or counterclockwise, or does it even matter? I'll answer that. Alan H., how do the chakras interact with energy work? More specifically, when chanting a mantra involving passing energy from crown to root, what happens in between? All right, so let me see if I can tackle that. So, how do the chakras interact with energy work? So let me just get started on this first. Again, what are the chakras? The chakras are energy vortexes that are connected to the spinal column. Now there's some confusion because besides the energy vortexes connected to the spinal column, we also have life force energy cauldrons. There are three major ones. There's the third eye, there's the heart, and there's the navel. Now there are chakras that are I would say that the cauldrons are superimposed on top of the chakras. So you can be pointing at your heart energy cauldron, and at the same time you're pointing at your heart chakra, but they're two different things. They're like two pipes. One's behind the other. So the chakras are behind the energy cauldrons. And the energy cauldrons are there to store and to absorb energy and to process energy. And the chakras are about, and the energy for the cauldrons, I should say, is life force energy, chi or prana. So the energy cauldrons are about storing, absorbing, and processing life force energy. When people are wanting to do things like telekinesis or energy healing or things like that, they're using the cauldrons. When people are doing things that have to do more with psychic energy, you're using the chakras. So we have two energy sources. We have Kundalini, which is connected to the chakras, and we have life force energy, which is connected to the cauldrons. So Alan is asking, how do the chakras interact with energy work? Whether he realizes it or not, what he's asking is, how does the stimulation of Kundalini interact with working with life force energy? And so there is an interaction. So many people, when they do energy work, like deep breathing, especially like you do a lot of intense deep breathing, they will have an experience that they believe has to do with Kundalini. In fact, there's this whole teaching called the Kundalini awakening process, and it was a guy who was doing energy work, Qigong, who had powerful experiences. He made the conclusion that he had awakened his Kundalini. And so he does all this he does all this energy work under the assumption, again, his assumption is, you got to know what your assumptions are. His assumption is that if you do energy work, you open up the chakras and the Kundalini. So that is up for debate. We could talk about that a lot. And I'm not saying that that's not possible and that doesn't happen, but it's not necessarily the same thing. Sometimes people have a misconception about Kundalini. This is a huge misconception. They will have all kinds of like tingling and warmth, and some people even have pain or all kinds of other crazy things happen. They have visions, all that kind of stuff, and they are absolutely certain that they have awakened their Kundalini. But all that's really saying is that your nerves are being stimulated. And your nerves can be stimulated because of an overabundance of energy or because there are blocks in your energy meridians. So like for instance, a real simple one, when you're doing like Qigong work, breathing and moving, kind of the stuff that I teach, a lot of times people will feel maybe some pain in their joint or pain in their fingers. And that just means that the meridians are blocked and a lot of life force energy is coming in, and what they're feeling is they're feeling the energy backing up in their meridians. Now it's not a dangerous thing, because if you continue to relax, what will happen is that the meridians will open and the energy will flow through. It's just like when you're watering your lawn with a hose and the hose gets kinked, right? It starts to build up and then all this energy comes out. But when you unkink the hose, then it moves freely. So the same thing here. So a lot of people are having these kinds of things and they think they're having Kundalini awakening. So I'm going to get rid of that. Kundalini awakening, if you're having a physical sensation, or if you're having even emotional or psychological or psychic crazy things are going on, assuming that it really is your Kundalini, it doesn't mean your Kundalini is awakening. It means that you have emotional and energetic blocks. Because when Kundalini, like prana, like chi, when all of your meridians are open, you don't feel any blocks or intense pain or anything like that. You might feel a greater sense of energy or connectedness, but if your meridians are truly open, you can have, infinite amounts of energy moving through your body and you won't feel it. So for instance, when people do a lot of work and they feel pressure on their third eye, they think their third eye is opening. Well, that's kind of true, but it means that there's just energies getting kind of blocked there. When your third eye is open, you don't feel anything. So I got to get rid of that. There's a lot of people, again, a lot of people doing a lot of energy work who think that, oh, look at what I'm doing. Oh, I love, look at me. I'm moving around in circles. I'm blah, blah, blah. All that means is that you're blocked and your body is adjusting. So just because your body is adjusting to increased levels of energy isn't anything to brag about. It just means that you're blocked. Somebody, if their meridians are open and they have a lot of energy, you can plug them right in and they won't feel any different. Okay, so let's get rid of that misunderstanding. So how do they interact is that when doing a lot of energy work, especially a lot of breath work, that will open up the meridians, and the Kundalini and the energy work together. So you can have an increase. They do work together. They work synergistically with each other. But as I said, you can have one without the other. So the short answer is, what we're going to get to is that when it comes to Kundalini and the chakras, the easiest thing to do to open the chakras is just simply to live your life fearlessly. And I'll explain why that works and what it does. All right, so again, remember, I'm only interested in your questions. Your statements, I'm going to bypass them because I want to help people. It's not necessarily a free-for-all. You're free to put down your thoughts, but I'll probably pass by them. Which of your books would you recommend for learning the meaning behind symbols in mythology? It depends on what symbols we're talking about. I focus on Norse mythology, Taoist, and Vedic. So the first one is good. The Thunder Wizard Path. Awakening Sleipnir, Mounting Sleipnir is good. Even Odin says Jesus was a coward. I mean, at some point in time in most of my books, I address mythology and symbols within mythology. So I can't give you one. I don't have one. I mean, if I were to pick one, I would say Mounting Sleipnir is a good one, especially if you're wanting to look at Norse mythology and its connection to Vedic mythology. Okay? Travis Cup. Are they the energy emitting from endocrine glands? Are you meaning the chakras? No. Nope. Glands have a function, but they're not that directly related one-to-one like that. Happy Sunday, Be Happy says, could it be that by regularly focusing on the area of the third eye to be eventually able to consciously move chi through your body from toes to head? Um, Focusing on the area of your third eye, again, so you're having an assumption. Your assumption is that your ability to move energy is in the third eye. It's not. Focusing on the area of the third eye is just going to bring a lot of blood flow to the third eye, and you're going to have sensation. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to open anything. But the third eye itself is not responsible for moving energy. The only thing that is needed to move energy through the body is your intent. That's it. Whenever you focus on your toes, energy goes to your toes. Blood, wherever blood flow goes, blood goes with your intent. If you focus on a certain body part, you'll start to feel a lot of stuff. First thing that's going to happen is blood is going to flow to that area. Life force energy follows that, so you are moving life force energy there, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So if what you want to do is consciously move chi through your body from toes to head, the only thing you have to do is just imagine moving energy from the toes to your head. Now the question is that a good thing or not? I don't know where you got that. I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know why anybody would want to do that. It doesn't, in and of itself, doesn't do anything. I would simply go through, do the Huul breath meditation that I have on my channel, Huul, Huul breath. Go and do that. That will move energy through all of the meridians. It'll do everything that anybody wants to do. In terms of energy work, there's nothing more advanced than that in terms of opening up your energy and opening up your chakras. So that's what I would do. But this idea that, we have to move energy around, if I move energy here, if I focus on this, if I do that, that is one of the misconceptions that's out there. So I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, Mary, I'm new to this subject, became confused. Is it true that the higher our vibrations are at death, the higher we ascend? No. Nope. Look, guys, and listen, there's nothing wrong with this. Everybody, I went through my understandings. I am teaching not only what I've learned, but what I've experienced. I don't teach anything that I myself have not experienced and cannot reproduce within myself. But any teaching that says if you do this, you'll achieve, because what you're saying here is, in this, Mary, what you're saying is that you want to get to a higher vibration when you die, which means, again, you want to be free, which assumes that there are lower bad vibrations, and you're trying to escape the lower bad vibrations. That is a fear teaching. So as I say, any teaching that has any kind of fear attached to it, I'm telling you to forget. Don't listen to anything they say. There may be 75% truth within it. But the 25% that has a fear-based assumption attached to it, forget about it. Walk away from it. So even if it is true that your higher vibrations get you to a higher place that you ascend, what makes you think that that's where you want to be? How do you know that that's going to be the best place for you? What if that energy is too high for you in your current state of being? It's like taking an infant. Why would you take an infant and throw it in a PhD, college course class? The infant needs to be wrapped up in a cloth drinking, milk out of mother's breast. That's what an infant needs. So the question is, what is going to make you happy? The bottom line is, what is going to make you happy? And that's all that I'm interested in. There is nothing without happiness. I asked this question. I'm starting to ask this question on all my videos. Number one, are you happy? Number two, are you afraid? We all have fear. We all have pain and sadness. So doesn't make you less of a person if you say yes to those questions. But if you say yes to those questions, then my job is to awaken you to what you already have and to provide you tools so that you can be happy and fulfilled, not only in this life, but in the one after. Okay, so drop all of that. So the short answer is, you don't need to make your vibrations higher or lower at death to do anything. The only thing that you need to do is to be happy. I'll say it again. When we die, we are only going to ask ourselves one question. And that question is going to be, did I fulfill all of my desires? And if the answer to that question is no, You will choose to come back as a human being so that you can fulfill all your desires. The whole point of being a human being is to have fun. All of the pain that we experience, no matter how tragic, no matter how horrible, is designed by you before you were incarnated to wake you up so that you go, you know what? Life is too short to be miserable. I'm going to be happy. That's the only reason we have pain. And when we have more and more and more pain, and more, no matter how difficult it is, it's because before you incarnated, you asked yourself, what do I need to do to wake myself up so that I can just focus on having a good time? Because you'll notice some of the people who have the most fun are the people who say, you know what, life is just too short to worry about that. You know, my girlfriend is like that. She just is amazing to me. She does things I couldn't possibly do. There are things that if I were to experience would just tear me apart. And she goes, you know what, I just don't have time for that. Now, that's not denial. Denial is saying, everything's fine, I'm happy, everything's fine, but you're in a lot of pain. That's different. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be in your emotions. You have to be true and be honest with yourself about what you're feeling at all times. You do have to work through pain. You do have to go through mourning if you have it. But at some point, you stop engaging and indulging, and fear is something that we engage in. Fear is something we indulge in. So any belief system that has any fear attached to it, drop it. It's not going to serve you. We are addicted to it. It's easy because it is easy to want to be saved. We want to have somebody give us the life raft to help us escape. That's why people worship Jesus. That's why people get involved in cults, because, oh, this person has the answer. And if I follow him or her, and of course, but in that is the punishment. If you don't believe in Jesus, you go to hell. If you don't follow the cult leader, then you're cast out and you're a soulless one. You're not truly alive, and you'll miss the boat, or you won't go to the whatever it is. So drop all that garbage. It doesn't serve you. Okay, so let me see. Again, looking for the questions. So how can we know for sure the Kundalini had actually awakened? Who cares? Again, what's the assumption? The assumption is that Kundalini, number one, has to be awakened, and number two, having your Kundalini awakened is important, because without it you won't escape, you won't be enlightened. So my first answer is, who cares if it's been awakened or not? My second answer to that question is, Kundalini awakens naturally when you live your life fearlessly. When you live your life in such a way where you are looking to have as much fun as you can have, and you're not going to get wrapped up in anything that wastes your time or your energy, anything that takes you away from your own self-empowerment and your own fun. When you live your life that way, the Kundalini and the chakras will open by themselves. So that's another myth, that we have to do something to open them. Nope. You just have to live your life and mature. And the way you mature is you live fearlessly for your own personal happiness. When you live for your own personal happiness, automatically you help everybody. So it's not a question of, am I going to live for myself or am I going to live for others? You know, what's her name? Mother Teresa, right? She's been held up as this paragon of spiritual virtue because she spent her life feeding the poor. She had no possessions. She had no blah, blah, blah. But what we know now that she has passed, is that she suffered from horrific depression. And that she suffered from major serious doubts about the existence of God. That's the whole reason that she helped others, is because she saw everybody as a victim. And she doubted that God even existed, because how can God exist when there's all this suffering? So get rid of the idea that being a martyr is somehow spiritual. It's not. I feel pretty confident that Mother Teresa is going to come back and she's going to focus on having fun the next time she comes. Okay, so there is no such thing as being spiritual because you don't focus on your happiness. When you focus on your happiness, you teach other people the same thing. And your health, physical health, is a good indicator. And according to some guy that I saw on TED Talks, who was an expert on longevity and health, he asked the audience, he said, okay, what's the one most important thing we need in order to live long and be healthy? And people said diet, exercise, stress reduction. And people went through all the list, and he pointed people out and he's going, nope, 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 you're all wrong. And everybody was like, everybody said all the right things. He said the one thing that he found in his study of people who had lived a long life and were happy is that they didn't take themselves too seriously. That they had the ability to let life challenges just flow off their back. Okay, you're broke now? Big deal, we'll be fine. You're $1 million in debt? No problem, I'm going to be fine. Your spouse dies? Yes, I'm in a lot of pain, but you know what? I'm going to be fine. And that, again, that's not denial. Everything's okay, everything's okay. It's that you just don't take things too seriously, and you have an inherent trust that the universe will provide you what you need. And I'm going to tell you again, the way that that works is the universe responds to you. If you have beliefs that you are a victim, if you have beliefs and you don't trust the universe, if you believe that there are powers greater than you that have the ability to deceive you and take your power away, the universe goes, oh, is that what you want? Okay, I'll give you that. Because it thinks that you're God. It thinks that you know what you're doing. It thinks that you realize that you are here to create a virtual video game to experience different intentions. So the easiest thing to do is just to trust. So these people who live long, healthy lives and don't take themselves too seriously have an inherent trust that the universe will provide them what they need. Okay? All right. All right, so I don't know if I answered your question, Travis, but we will get to that. How does acupuncture or acupressure really work in healing? It aids you because it opens up the meridians and allows energy to flow through the meridians. It aids in your healing only like taking a pill or something like that. It's a supplement, but really what it should do is, if you do it, is when you're getting an acupuncture treatment, you should be focusing on releasing and experiencing the emotions that are trapped in your system. Because if you have a physical disease, it means that there are unresolved emotions trapped in your body. And again, all unresolved emotions are a result of not trusting the universe. Fear, anger, whatever it is, it all comes from, I'm not going to be okay, I'm going to die, nobody loves me, the universe, God's out to get me, whatever it is. So just assume that you are everything, and if you just allow yourself to trust the universe, which means giving yourself the right to have all of your feelings. Let all of your sadness come up. Let all of your anger come up. Experience it all. There's nothing unspiritual about being unhappy. Nothing. Being happy doesn't make you spiritual unless you really are somebody who just doesn't take life seriously and you trust the universe. But there's nothing spiritual about plastering a smile on your face and saying everything is love and light. That's denial. So when you go for an acupressure or acupuncture treatment, breathe and say to yourself, this is how I am going to release and trust. And then the acupuncture will open up the meridians. Ideally you'll release some feelings, which will let the energy flow to the body part, and the body will heal itself. Okay? Okay, again, looking for the question. Black Earth Productions. Question. What would you say is the most important energy center to work from? I would say that there isn't one most important energy center. If I were to, I'll take that back. If there was one energy center to work from, it would be the navel center, and not because you're trying to open the navel chakra. It's because you're pulling life force energy into your navel. Your navel is the main storage center and the main hub. From the navel is all of the energy meridians like explode out from the navel. And so what happens is when you focus on the navel and you bring all of your energy into the navel center already knows there's a brain in there. Imagine there's a master wizard in there who's taking all that energy and knows exactly where you need it, and then sends the energy wherever you need it. That isn't to say that you can't focus on the other energy centers, but for instance, if you're focusing on the heart or the third eye, if you don't balance that by grounding it, then it can get stuck and make you crazy. So a lot of people who say if you open up the third eye, and there's people doing all kinds of things to open up their third eye, a lot of them are going to go crazy. I've known people like this. They become totally delusional. They sometimes achieve some kind of spiritual power, but all that means is that they're stuck. Here's another thing. Spiritual powers are no indication of spiritual advancement. For instance, if you have the ability to heal, it means that you have karma from past lives, that you have harmed other people. And the people that come to you for healing are people who in a past life you've harmed. And you are balancing out the energy. So even if you have the ability to put your hands on them and heal some illness, it simply means that there is a rebalancing of karma and you are paying back a debt to them. So again, somebody says, oh, I'm a master healer. Well, that means you harmed a lot of people in a past life. So superpowers mean nothing. They're fun. I've done it. I've experienced them. But I eventually, I'm more interested in just having fun. So most important energy center to focus on is the navel. People should be breathing whenever they do work. And whenever you work with other energy centers, feel free, go do it. Have as much fun. Always go back and ground. Because then if you have extra energy up here, the navel center can balance the levels and keep you sane and healthy. Okay? All right. Will you talk sometime about energy work, mudras and hand seals, palms and fingers? Yes, I have that. If you go to, I will, to answer your question, keep asking me. If people keep asking me enough, I will make, big videos about them. But go onto my site. Again, go onto my site. If you're new to my channel, go on to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel and look through and you will find mudras. And I have mudras in there, but you got to watch the videos. So don't be lazy. Put some effort. By the way, one of the most important tools that you have for spiritual advancement is discipline. Doesn't matter what it is. If you're doing a mantra, do that mantra every day at the same time, every day, the same amount of repetitions for 40 days, 3 months. If you're doing a ritual, do the same thing. Put your candle here, put the this here, light the that here, keep your intention. Discipline will give you everything that you need. It's not everything, but it gives you the ability to do all kinds of things. It's absolutely important. Without discipline, you cannot grow. So that'll be one of the few things I say that throws out, you have to do this. You have to have discipline if you want to grow. Because when we're talking about the chakras are about emotional maturity, and I'm going to explain that. And the only way you can gain emotional maturity is through discipline. Discipline gives you the ability to take action regardless of what you're feeling. A lack of discipline is you have a feeling and you have to act on the feeling right away, even though you know it's not the best thing for you. For instance, somebody's addicted to alcohol and they have a feeling, oh my God, I need a drink. They don't have the discipline to say, no, I'm going to go to the gym or go to a meeting or whatever it is they need to do. Discipline is extremely important. It's one of your most valuable tools. Is it normal to feel heat through your feet as well as your hands when you're working with energies? Yes. Andy LMT says, if I have a specific fear, how should I try to work through it? For instance, being afraid of the dark. I would need to talk to you. Listen, I'll be honest if I don't have the answer. I would need to talk to you. So if you're interested, get a private session with me. To get a private session, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com and just click on the Buy Now button as if you're getting an astrology reading, and then just put in the notes or email me and say, I just want a session. So I'd have to talk to you. I don't know. Keith Boyd, why is it so difficult for people to see truth, to understand that everything they need they already have? Why is it so difficult? 2 reasons. One is that that's part of the game. We've designed this matrix to be challenging, and we designed it so that in order to interface with it, we have to forget that we're infinite. So that's the part of the fun. Again, when you're playing a video game, if somebody gives you all of the keys ahead of time, it's no fun. You have to learn as you go. So that's why. It's difficult to see because people want to learn. They've chosen to challenge themselves so they can learn. The easiest way to get past that is exactly what you said, to just make the assumption. This is important. You don't have to feel trusting to trust. It is a choice. Make the assumption that you're going to trust the universe, that you're going to trust your own soul to guide you, that even if you don't know what your deepest desire is, you're just going to trust that your soul has the ability to show you, and you're just going to relax, and maybe it's not coming to you right now, but it will. Again, don't take yourself too seriously. Enjoy life. Have fun. Okay. Are there foot mudras, stances, positions that influence energy work? Yes. Short answer, yes. But you have to train with somebody, and you have to know exactly what the purpose is for. In spirit fighting, we have one entire set that's just footwork. So yes. And there are different energy gates on the feet, the heel or the toes or the ball of the foot, and stepping on them in certain, you can do all kinds of things to affect the energy in your body, but you have to have a teacher teach you that. Again, looking for the questions. Jeremy Keister, what did I miss? When this is done recording, you can go back. It'll automatically be archived. You can go back and watch it from the beginning when we're done. So I do have to get off this one today at about 4:45, so we still got a couple hours in it. Guy Guru that is talking, that's me. My name is Mike. If you happen to see this, please tell me how long this live stream is going to be. I just did that. Okay. All right, so those are all the questions. All right, so let's go back and let's do some business, and then we'll go back and we'll go through our list of what the chakras are. So let's get to the list here of what the chakras are, what they represent. Okay, I didn't. I thought I had put it on there, but I didn't. If you want to learn, you want to do some practices. Oh, that thing fell again. All right, I'm not going to try and fix it this time. There are practices that I've taught years ago about the chakras, what they are, and there are things that you can do. There are meditations that you can do to stimulate them and connect with them and empower them. So for that, go to chakras.thunderwizard.org. Chakras.thunderwizard.org. There's a mantra, the most chanted mantra in history. It comes from the Rig Veda, and it's, I think, 7,000 years old at the minimum. And it is the most chanted mantra by anybody in the world, by both Buddhists and Hindus alike. And it is the Gayatri mantra. So I teach the long form of the Gayatri mantra, which has breath work, which opens up the meridians. I teach a pranayama, a breath exercise to open up the two sides of the body. So if you want to do something that goes all the way back thousands of years, one of the oldest and most powerful, psychologically empowering practice, very easy to do, very user-friendly, go to chakras.thunderwizard.org and get those DVDs. And that, if you want an in-depth practice on the chakras, I made those videos, I think, like, gosh, almost 10 years ago or something, a long time ago. I look totally different than I do now. I think I even look older then than I do now. All right, so what again are the 5 or excuse me, what are the 7 chakras again? Okay, so very quickly, what are the chakras? As I said, the chakras are superimposed over your spinal column. They're behind the energy portals, the 3 main energy cauldrons, and they are gateways to the 7 psychological realms of existence. And every single one of us, even though we live together on the same planet, we are operating from one of these 7 lokas, one of these 7 places of psychological advancement. And so you can tell by working with people, once you get to know the chakras, which chakra they're living from. So understand that Kundalini is a power that, again, is not chi, it is not prana. Kundalini is the psychological identity of the person. When you die, you will not take your Kundalini with you. You will take the lessons that you had from your previous lifetime, but your Kundalini is not going to come with you. Your Kundalini is for your human psyche. It is not for your soul. So the idea that opening up all the chakras gives you enlightenment is only partially true. What will happen is that you will become emotionally mature, and then you will know what the purpose of life is. So you will know why you're here, which I keep saying is knowing what your true soul desire is. But I'm saying to you right now, even though I teach methods of how to stimulate the chakras and to connect with the Kundalini, even though I teach that, they're just tools. It's like acupressure. You could be doing acupressure and acupuncture all day, but if you don't have the fundamental assumption that you trust the universe and that you're going to release whatever emotions are trapped within you, and you're not going to try and escape your problems or escape your feelings, then it'll work. Then the acupressure or acupuncture will stimulate the nerves and the energy meridians to open up and allow the energy to flow to the affected body parts. But if you don't have the proper understanding, if you believe you're a victim, if you believe that the devil is trying to get you, if you believe that God hates you and that you're sinful, if you believe that there are evil archons who are trying to keep you trapped in a flat 2-dimensional universe in order to suck the life force out of you, if you believe that when you die that you can be deceived, or if you're not at the right vibration that you won't go to heaven or whatever it is, any of those kind of beliefs won't matter. Even if you're doing all of these exercises, it won't matter. On the other hand, if you start from the one assumption, which is that you are God, you are infinite, you created this matrix called life, and that you've chosen to be here, and that you have the ability to transcend all of your limitations and achieve complete fulfillment in your life, if you operate from that assumption regardless of how you feel, and you take actions based on that assumption regardless of how you feel, then your Kundalini will rise, your chakras will open, and you will achieve enlightenment. So that's the fastest way to do it. Having said that, all of these things that I teach, all the meditations and all of these things are excellent ways to achieve that. They're tools, and you should use them. Sometimes we need them. I know that I did. I still do. But there was a time in my life when I needed that. I needed the spirit fighting. I needed to open up the energy. I needed to experience the supernatural aspects of life in order to have the awareness that I have now. But they in and of themselves don't give you perfection or enlightenment. I know that because I've seen it. I've seen people with unbelievable power who are so trapped in their fear and in their anger and in their misery and in their ego. So as fun as all that stuff is, if what you want is to be free, there's only one thing, is just have fun. Go out and have fun. Ask yourself every day, what is it that I really want to do? What do I want to do to have fun? Do that and you will achieve enlightenment. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about the chakras. Number 1 is security. The root chakra is about security. So understand that the chakras, just because you've opened or stimulated a chakra doesn't mean that you're operating from the most advantageous vibration of that chakra. That chakras have a positive and a negative. And by the way, all of our chakras are open. We do operate from, some of them are more closed down than others, but without all of our 7 chakras, we wouldn't be able to function. So let me address the other question is, can you remove the chakras? No. Are the chakras alien implants? No. Again, that comes from fear. Any belief system that comes from fear. Aliens have implanted chakras to manipulate you, to track you, and to steal your energy. That comes from fear. Any teaching that comes from fear, throw it away. So there's a short answer to that. You can ask me any question. That would be a good example. Are the chakras implants? Before you even ask me the question, ask yourself, is he going to say that that's coming from fear? So if the answer is yes, I'm going to say it's coming from fear, then you can throw away that question. So no, the chakras are not implants, and you can't get rid of them. So what about the people who have removed their chakras? All that's happened is that they've done some kind of guided meditation with themselves to remove blockages and implants. And then they've had this, at least some of them, as far as I understand, say that they've had this feeling of freedom afterwards and their life has gotten better. Well, that means they've done something of importance. The fact that they chose to believe it was the chakras that they got rid of is immaterial. They're wrong. They didn't remove their chakras, but they may very well have removed their own self-directed negative sabotaging blocks. Now, if they need to believe that those were planted by aliens, then who cares? You know, the universe doesn't care about that. They're wrong, but it doesn't matter. What they were doing is that they were doing what I'm saying to do, is that they were looking to be free so that they could enjoy life. They did a meditation where they went through each of where they think the chakras are and removed them and then connected directly to their soul, which is what I'm saying too. You need to operate from your soul, operate from your deepest soul desire. So all they've done is they've gone through a symbolic meditation in order to connect with their soul, and now they're feeling connected to their soul and they're getting positive experiences from it. But they have not removed their chakras. See what I'm talking about here? So I'm not saying don't. You mean if you want to, go online and do those chakra removal meditations. Go do it. They'll probably work, but you won't get rid of your chakras. Your chakras will still be there. Okay, so there are 2 vibrations of all of the chakras, starting with the root chakra. The root chakra is security. And so this is the infant. And the infant is looking for all of his or her physical needs to be met. They want security. They need mommy and daddy. They need authority figures. They need those gods, because when you're an infant, mom and dad are gods. They're the infinite gods. They know everything. They have everything. You can't get anything without them. Physical security means you need to be warm. You need to be fed. You need to have your excretions evacuated out of your body. And you need love, and you need support. You need interaction. So this is security, and when our needs of security are met, then we don't feel mistrust. If you have a lack of trust, if you believe that you're a victim, if you believe that aliens are out to get you, if you believe the devil is going to destroy your life, if you believe that God wants to throw you in hell and judge you, that means that you're operating from the lower vibration of your root chakra. It means you're insecure. So people who are constantly getting stuff, they have to have more houses, more cars, more things. That's why spiritual masters live in the forest and they don't have any possessions. It's because their root chakra is fully opened and empowered, and they feel secure. They don't need anything. So I'm not saying not to have cars and houses and stuff like that. I'm just saying if you need more and nothing's ever enough, it means at the very least that your root chakra is not You're operating from the lower vibration of your root chakra. People who operate from the lower vibration of the root chakra can be domineering. They can be bullies. They want to control everything. Because again, control comes from insecurity. So that's the root chakra. The positive, as I said, the positive of the root chakra is that you trust that the universe will provide. So again, if you want to open your chakras, you can meditate on your root chakra all you want, and it may or may not do anything for you. If it's doing something for you, you will have this feeling of security and that you are taken care of and that you don't need anything. So the first thing to do again is just to understand that everything can be provided for you as long as you allow it, as long as you trust it. And then your root chakra will be happy. But you can still do things to make your root chakra happy. By the way, overeating, root chakra. So that's the root chakra. The root chakra is about security. All right, let's go past, let's look at them again, and then I'll take some questions. Okay, and if you want to do some traditional, very old, thousands of years old practices for the chakras, go to chakras.thunderwizard.com. Chakras.thunderwizard.com, and you can get those DVDs there. And you'll, trust me, just do the exercises, you'll see. They will give you a sense of, not only will they put a lot of life force energy into your body, not only will they give you things to do to focus on your chakras, but they will also give you a sense of peace, a sense of fulfillment, a sense of satiation. So those are some really powerful things to do. All right, so let me take a look at questions now. Jeremy, sorry for being silent. I was looking at the questions here. Jeremy says, Mike, how many years does it take to activate, or at least to some sense be able to see them, meaning the chakras, and not just the heat wave kind of looking chakra? Well, you know, there's an old martial arts, story, fable. The martial arts student goes to the master of the dojo and he says, how long will it take me to become a black belt if I practice for 1 hour a day every day? And the master goes, that will take you 10 years. He goes, oh, that's not fast enough. What if I practice for 2 hours a day every day? He says, oh, that'll take you 20 years. So, you know, how many years does it take to activate it? You know, the harder you try. This is the thing about spirituality. The harder you grasp at it, it'll come squishing out of your hand. It's trying to put your finger on a mercury, bead of mercury. It just pops out, playing whack-a-mole. So why do you need to have it done in a few years? Why not just be comfortable where you are? So there again, one of the main questions I ask all the time is, are you fearful? Are you happy? Are you afraid? Are you happy? So if you're asking me that question, maybe you're just curious, but most people, maybe this isn't you, I don't know you, but most people when they ask those kinds of questions, they're not comfortable where they are and they want out. They want to be out of their feelings and be perfect and enlightened, and they want to have, the assumption is if they have certain powers that they'll be happy. So the other assumption is that you're supposed to see the chakras. Who said that? So how many years will it take? I don't know. The third answer is I don't know. It depends on you. Again, if you remember what I said about healing, remember I said people who have healing powers aren't people who are advanced. They're people who have harmed people in a past life. And so in order to balance out their negative karma, they need to heal others. And the people that they heal are people they've harmed. So, same thing if you have some kind of vision power. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're enlightened. It means that as your Kundalini is awakening, a block within you is opened, which gives you a superpower. And that superpower means that there's a lesson you need to learn. So I say don't even worry about it. Don't even waste your time worrying about it. Just worry about being happy and ask yourself that question. Now, having said that, if you want to do practices that are meant to open up your eyes so you can open up your third eye so you can see auras or see chakras, go for it. Because, you have to have fun and you have to enjoy your life. And if that's what makes you happy, you should do it. Question, do your DVDs show different methods of meditation to solve different problem chakras? Short answer is yes. I mean, if you work with all of them at the same time, you will open them all and you will find out which ones are problems. But again, don't focus on one chakra. Just do the work and focus on being happy and fulfilled, and the chakras will balance themselves. But the short answer is yes. Humi Black says, are there soulless humans on this planet? No. Every single person you see has a soul. It is, again, ask the question. If you're going to ask the question of me, are there soulless humans on the planet, ask yourself, is Mike going to say that that is a fear-based belief? The answer, of course, is that that's a fear-based belief. To separate yourself and say that somehow you're above somebody else because they don't have a soul and you do, that comes from fear. Being superior comes from insecurity. And this is people who are afraid. When people are afraid, like other people are mean. There are mean people in the world, and when you're afraid of them, what do children do? They live in black and white. Oh, you don't have a soul and I do. So the place of power is to say, yeah, there are some people who are destructive, very destructive, and they cause a lot of harm and damage to other people. And the sad part is that they are human beings with souls. And so they are really out of alignment with their soul. And so instead of fearing them or judging them, have compassion for them. Having said that, it doesn't mean you need to be around them. So you don't need to spot them. Why would you need to spot them? The only reason you would need to spot such people is because you wanted to either avoid them or destroy them. Again, it's coming out of fear. So no, there are no soulless humans on the planet. Okay, Laurie Smith says, see the chakra. Do you mean like the colors they are associated? Okay, so she's talking to somebody else, so that's not a question to me. Jeremy Keister says, thanks a million. You made it so clear. I wonder if you are not an ET. Laugh out loud, but thanks though. No, I'm not an ET. I'm just a human. That's another thing. You hear me say it all the time, which is that any teacher who claims to be more than human or insinuates that they're more than human, or even maybe even worse, allows their followers and other people to say that they're more than human. I've known teachers personally. I knew a guy personally who used to do this. He would say, oh, I'm just a human being, and then his students would go around saying he was a bodhisattva, and he would let them do it. And then if you caught him in an insecure mood, he would say he was a bodhisattva. He would say, I rose from the dead. So, there's a lot of people out there that play the humility game, but in reality, they want you to think they're something that they're not. I'm never going to do that. I am as human as you are. There is nothing that I have in my life and my being that you don't have. There's nothing that I've accomplished that you can't accomplish. And whatever pitfalls you have, I have the same thing. I have the same emotional problems. I have the same life problems. I run into health challenges like everybody else. Okay? I'm just as human as everybody else. I have studied with spiritual masters, some of whom had crazy powers. And they were all screwed up human beings. The more powerful they were, and the more that they let people think that they were something special, the more screwed up and unhappy they were. The only thing that matters is being happy and fulfilling your desires. And it's okay if you're unhappy. It's okay if you're in pain. That's part of it. You have to acknowledge that you're in pain or you're afraid or you're sad. We all have it. We all have created challenges for ourselves that we have to work through. You've chosen to do that so that you can learn. What I'm saying is that, you know what? Life is just too short not to have fun. Okay, so I'm not I'm not an ET. I'm a human flesh bag, meat bag human being. Question: do your DVDs show you different methods of meditation to solve? Oh, I already answered that. Oh, that's it. That's all the questions. Alrighty. Okay, so now let's short business and look at the list again. What is the second chakra? Okay, chakras.thunderwizard.com. Chakras.thunderwizard.com if you want to learn some ancient, very powerful meditations that are easy to do and are so much fun. I guarantee you, if you do them, you will feel good physically and emotionally. They're one of my, probably among my top favorite energy things that I've ever done. It was videos that I did almost 10 years ago. At that time, I was going by my Kundalini yogi name, which was Shabad Singh, but still me. So, all right, so the number 2 chakra is the sacral chakra, or the sexual chakra, which is has to do with creativity. So if you've noticed, when human beings go through puberty, what is one of the main things they get into? They get into dancing and music. So they're out of their root chakra, which means that they're out of the infantile stage where all they want is their food, their clothing, their warmth, their toys, their stuff. Remember, little kids go, mine, 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 right? It's the root chakra, trying to get stuff to feel secure. So they've moved just past that. Now, it doesn't mean that if you're, just because you're going through puberty, it doesn't mean that you're still not stuck in your root chakra. You still can be. But we are now emotionally moving up the Kundalini path, and now people are in their creativity. So music is about creativity. Creativity is now starting to move towards individuality, because not only are you into music, you're into my kind of music. It's kind of funny, still to this day, we find a group that we really like because they really speak to us. And this shows my individuality that, millions of other people are listening to. But you have this feeling that, this is one way to tell you that Charles Manson was really low in terms of his Kundalini vibration. He thought that the Beatles were talking to him personally. That means that he was really low, in that, barely up into the sacral chakra. But that is part of individuality as well. So we're starting to get into our individuality. Procreation. A long time ago, people got married when they were entering puberty. 13 and 14, they started having kids then. They were just entering puberty. So their creativity was coming alive. Creativity has to do with children, what you create. So that's why we have sexuality and creativity together. So art, you know, what do you do when you're in junior high and high school? You draw all kinds of drawings on your notebook. Do kids even have notebooks anymore? When I was a kid, back in my day, we had notebooks, and we drew. I used to draw little muscly guys, and I used to draw waves and surfers, and you know, that's the sacral chakra. So the positive side of that is creativity. And the negative side of that is to take people hostage with your sexuality, and to seek attention for yourself. Let me see. What happened here? I get a little scared whenever something comes up on the whoozy what's it here. So yeah, we're still projecting. So that's the sacral chakra. I don't really have a whole lot to say about that. Again, Kundalini is about emotional maturity. Kundalini is not chi, it is not prana. Having your Kundalini awakened fully is absolutely a desirable thing. I'd be willing to say that you can't be enlightened without it. But the only reason that you want to awaken your Kundalini is so that you become emotionally mature. So as the Kundalini is rising through the chakras, again, each one of the chakras is an emotional, psychological, what's the word I want to use? Vibration, dimension. It's an emotional, psychological dimension. And you live in that, you operate from that. And so ideally you want to get through all of them, but take your time, enjoy them. You don't have to rush through to get them. You don't have to open them. When you learn how to be mature in each of these areas, your chakras will open by themselves. When you learn how to be comfortable with what you have, you will fully open your root chakra. When you learn how to be creative in your own individual way, in ways that empower you and empower others, your sacral chakra will open. Okay? So those are the first two chakras, and let me see if there are any questions now. All right. Again, looking for the questions. T6C says, is there any correlation between a fully open brow, third eye chakra, and perception? So I think I addressed this earlier. Yes, having an open third eye will give you perception, but again, then we have to ask ourselves, does it matter? Remember, if you haven't heard it, I'll repeat it. Whenever you either open up a chakra and or open up a meridian or an energy center with life force energy, and you get a spiritual power, it does not mean that you have achieved a higher form of spirituality. It means that there is a karmic block, a samskara, that is in your aura that has now been popped open, like a blister. And so, again, I'll use the healing one. People who have healing abilities, who can go and touch people and heal them, are people who have harmed people in a past life, and the people who are coming to them are people who they are then repaying a debt. So if you have an ability and you have an ability to see and you have perception, that means that there was some block there, and this illusion of having a greater perception, I mean seeing colors or whatever it is, doesn't again make you spiritually more advanced. It just means, like going to the gym, if you lift weights you get big muscles. I can see you're a weightlifter, you know what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean anything. It's just so yeah, you can have it, and there is a correlation. So the short answer is there is a correlation, but again, if it's something you want to do, go for it. If it's fun, go for it, but ultimately, who cares? Okay, Jeremy. So Jeremy, you're obviously new to my channel. I would suggest that when this video is over, go back and watch on my channel, thethunderwizard.com. You're going to have to go to the channel and click on the playlist that says Exit the Matrix. I talk about what the Matrix is. So the short answer is the matrix is a web of life force energy. The matrix is space-time. Space-time is created by the present, the past, and the future. The way that time works, it's not linear. It's not past, present, and future. Everything is the present. The present is the only thing that exists. In the present, we have thoughts, beliefs, and actions, intentions. Once we have emotions, once we make a decision or choose to believe something, that creates an energetic and emotional pattern which gets immediately lodged in what's called the past. That attachment then becomes a filter through which the future is projected, and that future is your debt. So if you do something positive, like you go to the gym and you lift weights, in the future you're going to have big muscles and be healthier. If you choose to steal from somebody, you're going to create guilt within yourself, which will get trapped in your past. That guilt will create a debt in the future, which either you're going to go to jail or you're going to end up somebody's going to steal from you. That's what karma is. That's what the matrix is. The trap of the matrix is being trapped in this three-dimensional space-time web of life force energy. Don't worry about any of that. Just have fun. Stay true to yourself, and you'll never have to worry about, well, I mean, you'll have challenges, but you won't have to worry about having challenging futures. Okay. C. Batranu says, what about crystals? It actually works, or is it about our BS? Crystals work. Everything works. You know, Qigong works. Yoga works. Meditation works. They all work. Yeah, crystals work. You see I wear this. This is a moonstone. So this has to do with, according to my Vedic astrological chart, which, by the way, I recommend everybody get a Vedic reading from me. I will tell you which planets want to work with you personally. I will tell you which mantras work for you to get either spiritual enlightenment, good luck on your path in life, or to get money and physical security. There's a seed sound for you that helps you, that you can use for a spiritual name, and one of them is learning what gemstone works for you. Now, the reason why I have a moonstone is because the planet that is guiding me on my path in this life is the moon. So whenever I worship the moon, whenever I go out into the full moon, the moon represents the mind and meditation. So whenever I meditate, it gives me personally luck. Whenever I wear a moonstone, it empowers my aura to connect to my life path. So not all, gemstones are going to work for me. This thing here that was made for me by one of my students, which was really cool, he intuited. He didn't even ask me. He was a very intuitive guy. He put in here some gemstone beads that are gemstones that are in my chart. So he was really on top of things. And this, by the way, is a symbol of the moon. And there's all kinds of stuff in here connected to the moon besides the other things that are on it. So short answer, yeah. They do work, but you have to know what you're doing. But again, it's a tool. Just because I'm wearing a moonstone isn't going to magically make my life better. If I'm out of alignment with myself, or if I have fear, and if I operate from fear, then these things don't mean anything. Okay? So ultimately, it's BS in the sense that they're only tools, but like everything else, they can work. Okay. Yeah, Jeremy, your question is, can you ask any other questions? Yeah, you can ask whatever questions you want. I may or may not answer them, but feel free to answer whatever you want. Is love the highest frequency? Well, again, that's an assumption. This is Humi Black. He wants to know, is love the highest frequency? What is love? Is love serving others? I'm going to say that the highest frequency is fearlessness. And fearlessness for me is when you go after what you truly want in life. When you go after what you truly want and you make yourself happy, you will automatically love other people. But if you focus on loving other people, again, I'm not saying that for some that's a way to find a connection to themselves, because eventually that that old adage of if you can't love anybody else until you learn to love yourself. So is love the highest frequency? Yes, in a roundabout way, because when you give to others, when you love to others, then you start to project. Everything is projection. You're projecting onto others. You give to others what you would want. You treat others the way you want to be treated. And so when you learn how to treat yourself the way you want to be treated, when you learn how to give yourself the things you truly want, again, when you're not out of alignment, for example, the root chakra, if you're out of alignment of the root chakra, then you're going to think that you need more stuff. And then you're going to steal from people and push people away. And of course, that's not loving. But if you are in a place where your root chakra is empowered, then you're going to feel nurtured. You're not going to need anything. And then you'll be able to give to whatever people need. This is, by the way, anytime you give to somebody and you have an agenda attached to it, you are harming them. Whenever somebody asks for something, like if somebody wants to borrow money, if you can't give them, $100 without wanting it back, don't give it to them, because then you will harm them. You will harm them because then you will be angry that you gave something that you couldn't or didn't want to give, and you're expecting something back, or you're giving them so that they'll love you. Your manipulation, fear, greed. See where I'm going with that? So somebody who, let me put it to you this way, if somebody is operating from their highest frequency, they will automatically love others. But people can get trapped in trying to love. The thing to do is to be fearless about getting what you want in life that makes you truly happy, even if that means that your family, your friends, your spouse, your government, your church will reject you. If you choose to avoid going after what you truly want in life in order to people please, to get other people's love or approval, you are not only harming yourself, you're harming them and everybody else on the planet. So the highest frequency is self love and fearlessness. Fearlessness to have everything that you want in life. You're only here in this meat bag once. I made the talk about Mother Teresa, who she's held up as this saint, but she was incredibly, from my sources anyway, from what I found out, she was very depressed and had tremendous doubts about whether God existed, because she thought that life was so cruel to these poor, starving children. So didn't make her happy, didn't do anything for her. Okay? So go after what makes you happy, and you will automatically be in a state of love. All right. Again, looking for the question. All right, no questions, so let's move on. Doing a little business, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so to learn more about the chakras and to learn practices and meditations that you can use to connect to the chakras and empower them, as well as relieve all kinds of emotional blockages and energy blockages, go to chakras.thunderwizard.com. chakras.thunderwizard.com. And you can get those DVDs are available. Those are DVDs I made like 10 years ago, and these are very ancient practices that go back thousands of years. And they work. Really good stuff. So The third chakra is the navel chakra, which is individuality. So we went through the root chakra, which was security. In order to have an empowered root chakra, you learn to trust the universe as opposed to trusting your parents or yourself or money or stuff. Once you no longer need stuff to be happy, and you feel secure in the power of the universe, just life force energy to give you what you need, then your root chakra will be open, and Kundalini will then rise. Kundalini being your spiritual, psychological identity, not your spiritual identity, which is your soul, but your physical human identity is what Kundalini is. Your identity moves through the security lesson and goes through the creativity lesson, which is the sacral chakra. And then we get to the third chakra, which is the navel, and that is individuality. Now you no longer need to live at home with your parents. You no longer need to get your identity by being subservient to other people. It is the navel chakra that allows somebody to become, work for themselves, allow them to determine their own lives. This is where we get pride and ego. This is why warriors have a lot of guts, because they have a strong, you can't be a warrior without a strong navel center. The downside of that is then you become dominating. You want to control and dominate others. You can be abusive. You can be cruel. You can be violent. These are signs that the navel chakra is out of balance. So the navel, this is why, and one of the reasons we focus on the navel center when we're grounding, when we're doing energy work, because the identity needs to be empowered. It needs to be nourished. And this is where our subconscious and our unconscious minds are. And so the more life force energy we bring into our navel, the more we are able to access our unconscious and our subconscious, and the more we're able to intend our life and what it is that we want. So the positive side, really, that's why, again, the navel is so important. Sit-ups, all kinds of, there's all kinds of yogic postures which empower the navel. This is why one of the reasons that people say in order to work through back pain, you focus on, doing core, which really what they're saying is if you empower the navel, then the back will feel better, because when you have back pain, it's because you feel insecure and you do not feel empowered with your own empowerment. So this is why the majority of people who have back pain, back spasms, myself, listen, I had it for years. It's because they don't believe that the universe will give them what they need. This is why the majority of them have money fears, because the kidneys have to do with feeling nourished. So it means you don't feel nourished, and when you don't feel nourished, you get back pain, back weakness. And so by focusing on the navel, whether you realize it or not, you're empowering your own individuality, and then that's why people think, strengthening the core muscles will give you better back support. It actually doesn't, because back pain has almost nothing to do, unless there's an actual structural problem, and most of the time it's not structural, it's emotional. Even the majority of people who have back, that go for back surgeries, in fact, I've known people, I do know people who actually have physical structural problems, and they needed to get back surgery, like they broke their back or something. But most of them are slipped discs. It has nothing to do with back deformities. It's emotional in nature, and then you go and get your discs fused, and then the problem comes back, and then you're worse than you were before. So anyway, that's a whole other subject. If you're interested on that, watch my video about how to heal back pain. I've got it on my channel somewhere. So that's the root chakra. So let me see if there are any questions about the root chakra. The higher ones are more interesting to me, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the navel chakra. Sorry, the navel chakra. I'm talking about the navel chakra. How do mantras, galder, which means chanting, work with chakras? Is the throat chakra significant with respect to such? Well, each one of the chakras has its own vibration, and each, if you want to work with the sounds of the chakras, it's very easy to find. It's lam, vam, ram, yam, hum. Those are the first 5 chakras, and then om is said to open up the top 2. But it works with the 5 elements. The root is earth, lam, which is the A seed sound for earth. Vam is for the sexual chakra. It has to do with water. That's why the Vanir are the gods of fertility. Vanir, the root of Vanir is Vam. By the way, for those who don't know, the Vanir are the Norse gods of the earth, the Norse gods of magic and fertility. That's why their name is Vanir. That's why the name of the planet for love is Venus. Vam has that first root. So yes, they do connect. But I wouldn't focus so much on the chakras. Again, focusing on the chakras themselves does nothing. I'm going to focus all my energy on my heart. The only thing that happens is that blood and energy flows to the heart, and you feel all kinds of stuff, and you may feel some associations with it, but in and of itself doesn't do anything. It won't open your chakra. The way you open your chakra is by maturing emotionally. Those will open the chakras. I don't know if I answered your question or not. Again, looking for the questions. I appreciate all the comments, both positive and negative. Thank you. Can a navel hernia have any negative effect on the navel chakra? No, I don't think it can have a negative effect. I think that, all from a shamanic perspective, all diseases have a symbol. There's a symbolic connection. So if somebody has a navel hernia, then it means that there's a blocked emotional issue having to do with their identity. I'll give you an example in my life. I just had, and 6 months ago, I had operation for an inguinal hernia, which will be connected to the sacral chakra. And at that period of time, there was stuff going on in my chart, which was gonna stimulate issues having to do with sexual issues with me, but also my girlfriend went into the hospital in Germany for 6 months for a life-threatening health challenge, and so I'm connected to her, through my sacral chakra, and boom, because of that, she's such a strong part of my life. When that happened, there was no coincidence that I had an inguinal hernia, and I basically had to spend 6 months to get it and just nurse it. So that's all symbolic. I was nursing my connection to my partner, through whom that's one of the main ways we connect. So it's not going to have a negative effect, but there is an emotional and psychological connection to it. By the way, my understanding is if hernias don't go away on their own. It's probably a good idea to go see if you have that, to go look into surgery. That's just my 2 cents on that. Are there correspondence of the chakras and the rune wheel? Yes. Not directly, but you can make the connections. The way to find that out is to get this DVD. Where is it? Get this DVD. The Spell of the 9 Knots. So this is a good idea to teach this. There are actually 9 chakras. There are not 7. There are 9. There are 3 major energy cauldrons, and there are 9 meridian points. So the meridian points are on the outside of the body. They go up, around, and down the back, and there's a front and back portal to these meridians. And so each one of the meridians has a connection, starting, and it bounces in a sine wave. A sine wave means like this. So if we're connecting the 9 chakras, the 9 meridian points with the points on the thunder wheel or the rune wheel, which is, here's a thunder wheel. And for those of you who are new to the channel, the thunder wheel is when we're doing rituals to open up the 9 dimensions of the universe, which are the 9 branches of the world tree, the 8 directions plus the center. We also have corresponding points on the body which connect to them. So we can also open up different worlds of the 9 worlds by working with the 9 meridians and connecting them to the 9 directions, or the 8 directions, and the 9 worlds. And so yes, each same thing applies here in the rune wheel. That generally speaking, the runes that you find located in each of the 9 worlds will have a connection with each of the 9 centers. So the 9 centers are, starting at the north is the root, the perineum. The northeast is the crown. The east is, let me see, am I doing this right? The east is the sacral chakra. The southeast is the third eye. The south is the navel. The southwest is the mouth. The west is the solar plexus, not the heart, but the solar plexus. And the northwest is the throat. And then the 9th, which is the center, is the heart. So by opening them in a sine wave and going from north all the way to northwest to the center, then you open up the 9 portals. You can open up the 9 worlds. When you have them all opened like that, all of your meridian centers will be opened in a sine wave, which will act as a key to magically open all of the 9 worlds. Then you can throw out an intent. And when you do that, then you're throwing that intent into Urd, which is the past, which will then be projected forward into the future. But be careful what you wish for. It's a very powerful ritual. What I have here, the spell of the 9 knots. I'm not talking about the spell of the 9 knots that you can find by going online and typing in what is the spell of the 9 knots. You may get different chants, and those are powerful too. But when you connect it with the thunder wheel and with the 9 meridian centers of the body and all that stuff, then you have one of the most powerful magical rituals in existence. This here, spell of the 9 knots. Okay? Alright, so that we'll have to do a whole thing just on the spell of the 9 knots. By the way, things like that, the spell of the 9 knots and ritual, if you really want to learn how to do that, go to thunderwizard.com and sign up at the $25 level, and then you can see all of the private videos. I go in depth on how to do these things. I'm going to continue to do that. That's the point of becoming a subscriber for the Master Shamanism course, because you learn actual things that I don't have time to teach here while I'm answering all questions for newbies. But also I think people should really want that stuff. This is stuff you won't find anywhere else. I can guarantee you that. Spell of the 9 knots, the way I have taught it, you won't find anywhere else. This is the only place to find it. Which is okay. I mean, there are other places. You don't have to get your information from me. I'm just one of many, many teachers in the world. Okay, so I'm going to check for questions. Okay, so there's no silly questions, Kalu Tariq Ra. If I answer, it's because there's something I think is valuable to know. And so, there's no such thing as a stupid question, and I will, it's because I want to give some information to you, but I am sometimes very direct and straightforward, and I can understand why it sounds like I'm criticizing you personally. That is not my intent. That's just something I'm learning. again, I'm a human being. I'm learning how to communicate in the most constructive way possible, and sometimes I go off, and sometimes I do critique others and critique things. But please don't take it personally. That is not my intention. Okay. Kalu Tariq Ra, can smoking weed hurt your progress through the chakras? Yes. Listen, there's a lot of very powerful benefits in marijuana, a lot of health benefits. Clearly there are some health benefits. I myself take CBD oil, but CBD doesn't have the hallucinogen. I'm not even going to say that if you smoke weed to get high or have an experience that there's anything wrong with that. But yes, let me tell you why extended use or overuse of THC can be destructive. First and foremost, just let me say this. Have you ever been at a party where people are smoking weed or whatever it is, getting high on THC in whatever form there is nowadays? There's so many ways to do it. And you're not, and then you watch them as they get more and more high. They start saying ridiculously stupid things. You know, like, my fingers can touch everything but themselves, man. You know, on my thumbnail, there might be a universe in my thumbnail, and in that universe, there might be a guy smoking weed looking at his thumbnail. Oh, wow, man. You know, I mean, it just gets ridiculous. So that's one thing. I mean, it doesn't necessarily give you heightened awareness, but it feels like it. And here's why. At the base of your spinal column is an energy gate. And it is an energy gate that is connected to your aura. And when we need energy that's in our aura, this is why you should do meditation and Qigong and breath work, to make sure that there's always some energy in your aura, some life force energy. Because it's your first and last defense, not only against physical things like microbes and viruses, but it's also your first and last defense against other people's negative thoughts. Black magic, you know, if you're worried about psychic vampires, or the way to avoid people's ability to manipulate you or steal your energy is to strengthen your aura. So at the base of your spinal column on the back is a little gate right there that, you know, it siphons energy between your aura and in your spinal column up into your brain. And so having a powerful aura is important because we need that for our brain to be able to connect on a spiritual level, for our spiritual antenna to connect to our higher self, to the ancestors, to the angels, whatever word you want to use. But when that gate gets opened too fast, too wide, then what it ends up sucking all of the life force energy out of our aura, shoots it up the spine, and literally fills our brain up like a balloon with life force energy. Which is why when you smoke weed, you get a head rush and you feel like your head is a balloon. It's because it's literally filled with life force energy. So the downside of that is that you feel hyper-focused. You think you're having an enlightened experience. You're really not. You just got a head rush. You know, same thing. Like when you get a head rush and you get dizzy and you faint. It's too much oxygen in the brain, right? Same principle. But the reason why it's destructive is because when your aura is depleted of energy, then you are vulnerable not only to psychic attacks but to things like viruses. If you've noticed that people who smoke a lot of weed are sick all the time. They have colds and flu, and their immune system is shot. That's why. So again, I mean, you know, there are purposes for all of these things done, you know, in the right time and in the right way. But if you're using weed to get out of your feelings or to get more spiritual, I can guarantee you're working against yourself. Eventually that whatever benefit you may be getting from that, once you start doing it regularly, it starts working against you. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off. Sorry, but that's just the truth of the matter. But you know, if it helps you on a physical level, do it. I mean, do it if you want to have fun. Do it. Listen, if you want to have fun, just own it. Just own it. If you smoke weed because it's fun and that's why you do it, then just own it. There's a lot of people smoking weed because they want to get out of their feelings and they want to have fun, and they're justifying it by saying it's spiritual. Just do it because you want to do it. All right. Again, no silly questions. I'll answer this because it's a good question. Jeremy's short answer is, what do I do if my girlfriend is not so interested in what I'm indulging myself into learning about? So what? You know, here's the question to ask yourself. When are you the most happy with your girlfriend? I asked somebody this because he was asking the same question. He said that his wife wasn't as into his spirituality as he was, and he thought that might be a problem. And I said, well, when do you and your wife, when do you really feel connected? And he says, when I'm lying down next to her in bed. And I said, then that means that on an unconscious level, the two of you are really deeply connected. And who cares? My girlfriend, even though she totally supports everything that I do, and she wants to hear about a lot of stuff, a lot of it goes right over her head. She doesn't do Qigong with me. She doesn't do mantra with me. She doesn't do any of that stuff. It's not interesting to her. But, you know, when I connect with her, I'm not talking about spirituality all the time. In fact, almost never. So if your girlfriend and you connect really well, and she's not getting in the way, if she's not criticizing you, or if you're not trying to shove your thing down her throat, which may want her to criticize you. If you guys can lie in bed next to each other and close your eyes and you feel loved and protected, that's all that matters. Her job as the feminine counterpart in the relationship is to surround you with her aura, which means she is going to support you whether she understands or intellectually connects with you about it. You are going to feel empowered to go be your best self. And there is nobody in the world that is more empowering to me than my girlfriend. I could care less if she ever, you know, reads any of my books or does it. I could care less about that. She is the most empowering thing in my life, and I wouldn't be who I am without her. So that's what you want to look for. Question, what meditation is the best to cure all my woman problems of going through the hormone changes as I am 51 years of age? Well, I'm not able to answer that because I'm not a woman. What I can tell you is that any meditation that you do, if you connect to your deepest self, you can then ask your guides. You know, this is one of the great things about working with guides. Ask your guides, guide me to somebody who can answer this question. There might be a spiritual answer to the question. It might just be something physical. You know, it might just be finding the right person to help you balance your hormones. You know, that's what my girlfriend does. She's got somebody that works with her on that. She's 54, and you'd never know it. I certainly don't know it from a romantic perspective. I can barely keep up with it. So there are people who can, and that's saying a lot, and there are people out there who can help you with that. I can't, but first and foremost, meditate and ask your guides to bring to you or guide you to somebody who can help you. That's an answer to any question you don't know the answer to. If you are one of my students and I've given you a Vedic astrological reading, then when you want to find out what your Ishta Devata is, which is the planet that is guiding your soul, and then you would go to your Ishta Devata and pray to your Ishta Devata, pray to that planet or pray to a deity or an energy connected to that planet and say, guide me to what I need. I have a question, I'm confused about this, how can I fix it? So go to astrology.thunderwizard.com if you want that service from me. Okay. Jeremy's saying some nice things about me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm glad I'm able to be helpful. All right, let's move on. Do some business, and we'll move on to the next chakra, which will be the heart chakra. Okay, so can you see the psychological progression here? So again, Kundalini is not life force energy. It is not prana. It is not chi. It is its own energy. It is the energy of the psychological identity of the human being. It is not the energy of the soul. Although the soul learns, when we learn and we grow psychologically, the soul also grows, takes those lessons into the next existence. So that's how the soul and the Kundalini are connected, but the soul is not the Kundalini, and you do not become a more enlightened soul. You become a more enlightened human being, and you may experience yourself as having achieved some kind of enlightenment thing, but all that's really happened is you've become your true, your highest human self. And then when you're beyond human limitations, which means psychological limitations, then you can focus 100% on the soul, and then you will experience, you will awaken to your divine self. Does that make sense? So Kundalini itself, people think, my Kundalini is awakened, I'll be an enlightened person and I'll leave this world. That's escapism. That comes from fear. Remember, anything that comes from fear, throw it away. Kundalini, when you go through all the chakras, you will become mature. When you become mature, you will no longer have psychological entrapments or illusions. And then you can focus on your soul, and then you will realize who you already have been for eternity. Okay? But we're here to have fun. We're here to be human, so be human. You can't escape. You can't become enlightened without being human. Can't do it. That's why any teacher who claims to be a beyond human or claims to be an alien, don't listen to them. How can they teach you? That's like, you want to learn how to be a better human being, so what, you get an elephant? Ask an elephant how to become a better human being? An elephant is an elephant. Why would you want to learn from an alien how to be a better human? How is that alien going to, assuming that it's an alien from another planet, how is that alien going to know how to be a human being? The way you want to learn how to be a human being is learn from a human being who has learned how to be a human being. Okay, so anybody who's not human, why bother learning from them? That's escapism. If you want to learn from aliens, it means that you don't want to be human, which means you hate yourself and you're uncomfortable and you want out. I can understand that. We all go through that. Wanting to escape is very human. Pain, nobody likes to feel pain. Loneliness, sadness. So it's understandable. But unfortunately, there's no way out. The only way to be a human, a happy human being is by being fully human. So now we're getting to the heart chakra. Let's see if did I answer? Was there a question? I went off on a tangent and I got so full of myself I forgot what I was talking about. Okay, no, I answered all the questions. Okay, so now do you see how it works? We go through issues having to do with security. We go through issues connected to our creativity. We connect to our individuality, and we learn how to be a human. And then the next one is community. So this is the heart center. This is why, when people talk about love, and they say that love is the most important thing, what they're saying is that they are going through the lessons connected to community. Now, there is a pitfall in that. You see this with all religions, especially religions that proselytize. All of the religions that are connected to the heart center proselytize. Christianity, Islam, Judaism doesn't really proselytize. Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. Buddhism is a very well-respected religion, but do you know that Buddhism, like Christianity, went into native communities and persecuted native religions, forced people to convert to their religion? There's a movement in Mongolia where people are going back to their original shamanism, which is where shamanism, as we call it, came from. And there was a whole persecution that was done by Buddhists to get rid of. Sometimes it's done on a subtle level. I'll give you an example. Zen Buddhism in China is called Chan Buddhism. And the Shaolin priests, you know, the Shaolin temples, we think of Kung Fu. But the Shaolin temples were Buddhist temples. And if you notice, there's a huge difference between Buddhism as it's taught in Tibet. The Tibetan Buddhism is actually Tantric Vedic Hinduism with Buddhist deities. Now they have their own other stuff that they do, but everything is Buddha. Even though they have a million this Buddha and that Buddha and this Buddha and that Buddha, and there's technically different Buddhas, you notice they all make them into Buddhas. And when you find out the names of those Buddhas, those are names of Vedic deities. Amitabha is one of the names of Shiva. So they're actually worshiping Shiva, but because it's Buddhism, we don't worship Shiva. Everything is Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. Tara. Tara is one of the big deities. That was a Vedic deity. It was a Mahavidya. So in China, they did the same thing. But what they did is that they teach Taoist energy work. They teach the microcosmic orbit. They teach the 5 elements of Taoism. They teach Taoist energy work and Qigong. But what they did was, in order to make it Buddhist, which means they can't be Taoist, because Taoist is, it's polytheism, and it's, barbaric. We're Buddhists. We're above all of that. They made up this story about an Indian Buddhist guy from India, because that's the mythology. Is some guy from India came and taught them Buddhism. They made up this story. I forget the name they call him, but they made up this story about some guy from India who came and started the first Shaolin temple, who went in and meditated and faced the wall. And when he came out, he had all of these teachings on the 5 elements and all this Qigong and all the martial arts that they do. The martial arts that they do in Shaolin has connections to ancient Chinese martial arts, and a lot of it is Taoist. But they don't say it's Taoist. They say, I forget the guy's name. Whatever it is. The guy's name, and he created that Buddhism did that too. This is a heart-centered religion. This is my point. Another one, Christianity, Buddhism. Another one is Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. Vishnu is the heart center. Buddha is an avatar of Vishnu. Jesus is an avatar of Vishnu. These are all heart-centered deities. So anybody who worships these deities is worshiping through the heart center. The heart center is about community. That's why there's such a focus on love and compassion, because that's how you create community. You can't relate to somebody else unless you have compassion for them, unless you have love for them. But the downside of it is that then everything is my deity. Everything is Jesus. No, Jesus is the one, the only God. Buddha is the only true teacher. No, Krishna, everything is Krishna. No, Shiva is not Krishna. You're worshiping Shiva, you're really worshiping Krishna. That's what they do. Whenever you operate from the heart center, it's all the same thing, it's all this. And then they go and they proselytize. If you really want to be saved, you have to accept Jesus. If you really want to learn true compassion, you have to become a Buddhist. If you really want to achieve enlightenment, you have to worship Krishna. Everything is Krishna. This is the heart center. And that comes from an insecurity. The insecurity, when you learn the lessons of identity, you realize that identity is limited and you're lonely. And it's not enough to rule the world. You want people. So then you go too far in the other direction and you love everybody, and then you shave I got a shaved head, but shaving your head means you're getting rid of karma. I shave my head because I got a bald spot back here and it makes me look old. So, and plus my girlfriend likes me better with a shaved head. But that's one of the reasons people shave their heads, is to get rid of their identity so that they can be part of the community. So the downside of love is that when you're operating from love, in that you need to connect, we need to be a community. You have to be part of the temple, you have to be part of the ashram. If you leave the ashram, you won't be connected to blah, blah, blah. That's the heart center. So I'm not saying that there aren't lessons in that. Being part of a community, if that's what makes you happy, being a part of an ashram, part of a temple, makes you happy, then do it. Because there's a lesson. It means that there's a lesson in there about learning to differentiate between your identity and the community. Learning how to love others and still love yourself. This is the Aquarian age. The Aquarian age is all about learning how to be your own self and still be part of a community. So the downside of that is that you lose yourself, and if you've ever noticed, there's a lot of people who are really into love and they want to love and all that, but they're very impatient and they can lose their temper and then they become very critical. So when the heart center is not operating, when you're not operating from a satisfied, happy heart center, you're critical of other people and you're impatient and you feel rejected very easily. That happens with the heart center. So when the heart center becomes, when the Kundalini in the heart center becomes mature, then it realizes, I don't have to do this and wear the uniform and shave my head or put on the armband or whatever it is, put the dot on my forehead or whatever it is to make me part of the community. I don't have to show you that I'm part of the community anymore. I can just be connected. Me and myself is enough. And if I empower myself, I'll empower others. That's one of the lessons. And then you move up to the next chakra, which is the throat chakra. And so we'll talk about that. But before I do that, let me do some business and see if there are any questions. Okay, yeah, so somebody helps me and says, yeah, the guy's name is Bodhidharma. Damo, they also call him Damo. If you ever see him, he's angry looking. He's an angry looking guy. The pictures of him. Yeah, Damo supposedly came and started the first Shaolin temple and then went into the cave. And I think it was either for 9 months or 9 years. He stared at the wall and came up with Taoism. He comes out of the cave with Taoist stuff and then says it's Buddhism. That's what I mean. This is what religions have to do. This is why I don't necessarily connect with any particular religion. I'm fusing all these things together, but I didn't make them up. I'm just fusing, teachings that other people have found to be true, and I'm finding that this is a way that it works together. And this is why I tell you to go teach. This is why I have the free certification. And this is why I'm not looking to start a temple and have a bunch of sycophants following me. Because there's nothing in it. Not only that, I'm just too selfish and I like my privacy and I like my own time. And the last thing I want to do is babysit a bunch of, sycophants. You have everything I have. Anything I can do, you can do. You're no different than me. But I'm happy to share with you how I got to where I'm at. Here are all the tools. Do with them what you want. Pay me for my time so that I can live and eat, but other than that, I'm just like you. In fact, if you were to meet me on the street, you'd never know the difference. I don't wear all this stuff. I only do this for astrological reasons, because this is how I'm supposed to project myself in order to be more successful as a teacher. That's it. I don't need, when I go out in public, I just want to look like a regular person. So T6C says, are there other parallel yet superimposed circulating energy systems in us as humans in addition to Kundalini, Chakra, and life force energy? Perhaps something correlating to the divine self. So again, I need to know why you're asking that question. There's something that you're wanting to achieve, and you may have an assumption, but you're wanting to find something. So the short answer is, who cares? Because ultimately, if you do the one thing I say, which is do all the things that make you happy regardless, then everything will connect you to, that's the fastest way to connect to your divine self. The way to your divine self, the way to your divine self is through joy. So the things that give you joy are going to connect you to your divine self the fastest. All the other things, the meditations and all that stuff, are good. If you have to do meditations because of health challenges, and those are the way that's the way your soul wants to connect. If I love energy work. I love internal martial arts. It's fun. That's why I do it. But the benefit of internal martial arts is it opens up all my energy channels and gives me a closer and faster connection to my soul, because that's how I do it. But other than what I've mentioned, I'm sure there are. I don't know any. There's the chakra system, which is Kundalini, which goes up the spinal column. There's the Taoist path, which deals with the nine meridians and the 3 dantians, and they have there's differing ways of doing that. And then there's the sine wave, which I've told you, which is going from top to bottom and bouncing around until you get to the middle. And they're all superimposed on each other. And they all do different things, and they all feel differently. So there may be others that I'm not aware of, but in terms of connecting to the divine self, it doesn't matter which one you do as long as you're doing it because it gives you joy. That's it. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. So let's look at the next chakra in... Excuse me, I think I just spit there. Let's look at the next chakra in the sequence here. Okay, so once you get past the lessons in community, then you get to mastery, and the mastery is here. This is the realm of the teacher. This is where this is where their Kundalini is. So assuming that that's where I'm at, this is why I talk all the time. This is why I can't shut up. This is why I have to talk about spirituality. Something comes up, I have to explain it. Because that's where I'm at. And this is the guy who's on the mountaintop. So what happens is, after you've been in the ashram, or you've been in the community, or you've operated from the heart center, and you realize that being part of the community doesn't mean anything in the long run, you've learned whatever lessons there are, you realize that you have your own identity, then it goes to it's just me and God. It's just me and the universe. And you go and you sit on the mountaintop, and you don't need stuff. You sit in a loincloth and you meditate, because you yourself are going to connect with the source, and you yourself are going to figure out the secrets of the universe. And it's no longer, in these other chakras, you're willing to take somebody else's word for it. Oh, the Bible says, or the Bhagavad Gita says, or Guru so-and-so says, and that's all you need, and you just do what they say, and that's enough for you. And they may be right. But eventually you realize that's ridiculous. I don't need anybody else. I don't need another book. This is why when you get up here to this, you can pick up any spiritual book and you'll be able to talk about it like you've been studying it for millions of lifetimes. That is why when I first started looking at the Norse myths, I knew exactly what the symbolism was and where the Qigong lessons were. That's why I can pick up any... as long as it's a real mythology, I can read it and I can tell you exactly what it's saying and what the hidden meanings are. Because this is where I'm at, right here. I'm at the throat chakra. So the downside of that is then you become the know-it-all teacher. Then you run into the downside of being the teacher who's above it all. Then you start to believe, I must be an alien, or I'm a higher degree, or I've died, or I've risen again, and all those fake BS teachers out there that want to separate themselves and say that they're better. Osho, I'm saying it. I usually don't criticize people, but Osho is one of those teachers. Osho used to be Bhagwan Rajneesh. Back in the 80s, he had this complex, and he'd have people go through things where like they were beating each other up, and he was high on drugs all the time. The guy's dead now, I think, but Osho was one of those guys. bought into his own BS. Any teacher that doesn't tell you that they're as human as you are is either lying or deluded. That's here. That means that they got here very wide, and they have such wisdom, and they can BS you and seduce you with such wisdom. But then they throw in but you have to follow me, I'm the only one out there. So that's the downside of the throat. Downside of the throat is that you become the only one on the mountaintop. The positive side of the throat is that you do have a connection, able to communicate deep subjects. For instance, like the difference between the planet Jupiter and the planet Mercury is that Mercury is the intellect. Mercury is always rebelling against Jupiter, and Jupiter is always trying to help Mercury. Jupiter is the knowledge that is deep within. Guru means deep. Jupiter, one of the names for Jupiter is Guru, which means deep. And so there's this deep wisdom that can't be put into words, that's beyond the intellect, that's beyond knowledge. So the throat chakra person is the person who is seeking to take that deep knowledge that cannot be put into words, that deep knowledge that is connected to the intuition, that you can't find in any book, that you can only find through deep intuitive connection to the universe, and is able to put it into words in such a way that people can absorb it. So this is why people worship teachers. A true teacher realizes that he or she is just a symbol. So there are people, when they meet me or when they train with me, especially if I give them a teaching of power, like how to tap into power, a lot of times women will fall in love with me, and or men will think I'm something beyond human. Now, I go out of my way to make sure you know that I'm just a human being, but I don't take away people's experience. So out of my own insecurity, I'm not going to bash your experience of me. That's why traditionally you would put your guru, your teacher's picture on your altar, and you would worship the picture, because that picture is a symbol of what you want to achieve for yourself, and you, on an unconscious level, they are a symbol to the true teachers. They are a symbol of the divine. And if the teacher doesn't realize that that's all they are as a symbol, then they're going to be destructive. So I'm not going to take away somebody's experience. They're going to say, you touched me on the head, and it's happened a few times. Or just being in your presence, they start to, but that just means, it doesn't mean anything other than that their unconscious mind is being connected to their teachers, who are giving energy to them through the symbol of me, and they are having an experience, and they don't know where to look at, so they see me, so they think it's coming from me. So that's true with any teacher. So that's why, if you have an experience with a teacher and you worship a teacher, understand that beyond that facade, this is my costume. I wear this costume. This is the costume I'm supposed to wear. That's how you guys, according to my chart, that's how one of the symbols, the way you guys connect to your higher selves. But eventually, when people train with me long enough, they have all those. First, they fall in love and they want to have a relationship with me, and I don't give it to them. They have to get past that and stay with me. Or they want to be my best friend and they want to go a hike with me, or they want to go do whatever with me. And I say, no, I'm your teacher. And then they get their feelings hurt. And then they get past that. And then they find out that I'm a human being. And then they start picking me apart. And I love that when that happens. Because if they can get to that point and they want to talk to me on the phone about, I'm tired of listening to what I don't want to do what you say anymore, and I'm going to go on my own. And then I say, great, now you're ready to be my student. You're finally past the projections, and you see that I'm just a human being. And now you can trust me when I say, listen, if you just do this, trust me, don't think about it, just do this, you'll get something out of it. Because I'm a human being and I did it. So trust, that's why, when you're working with a teacher and they say, just do this, wax on, wax off, like the Karate Kid, In case you don't know, there's a movie called The Karate Kid. The guy wanted to learn karate, and he goes, okay, go wash the car, but do it like this, or, wax the fence, or paint the fence, and just do this. Don't do it any other way. And if he deviated, he'd say, go home, you're not my student anymore. And he goes, no, I want to learn, then paint fence like this, and just do this every time. So he was teaching him something, and he realized, it's a waste of time to tell you why, just do it. Get it into your body and do it, and then I'll tell you why. That's why teachers do that. Because don't try and figure it out, just do it. So you have to trust that they know what they're talking about. Okay, so this is the throat chakra. Anyway, I went on and on and on and on and on. Where are my glasses? I'll see if there's any questions about anything else. Okay, looking for questions. Let me see. TC6 asked a question, and I am curious to see what his reasoning for it was. I am imagining I'm seeing Kundalini associated with the physical body and life force energy associated with the energy body. I'm perhaps mistakenly associating those with the lower and middle selves. I think you're just, your intellect is trying to figure things out. I think you're trying too hard to understand it. This is what the intellect does. The intellect figures things out, because part of what we need in order to feel comfortable is to feel like we understand what's happening and what's going on. And so the intellect, because it is the software in our body that gives us the ability to interface with the matrix. The web of time, space-time, the three-dimensional web of space-time, which is another way of describing the matrix. Our intellect is the software that we use to differentiate. Otherwise, everything, we wouldn't be able to tell the difference between then and now and there and here. So the intellect has its place. But when we over depend on our intellect, then we try to figure everything out, and then we miss the forest for the trees. So Kundalini is associated with the personality, and by maturing on a personal level, your chakras will open and your Kundalini will rise. That's all you need to know. Life force energy is primarily associated with the physical body. But they do intertwine. They're connected. So, I'm not telling you not to try and figure it out, but it does sound a little bit like you're trying too hard to figure it out. But you might. The thing about the intellect is that if you can find truths, so you may figure something out that I'm not interested in. Associating with the three selves, there might be something in it. I apparently don't have a need to figure that out, so I don't. Anyway. Question: can having monetary debt drain your energy? No. You have monetary debt because you are not following your soul passion. The way to make money is to follow your soul passion, which is the thing that gives you the greatest joy. When you follow your greatest joy, the universe gives you everything that you need. You may think that you need to have a huge house and a big car, and your soul is like, no, that's not what I need. I need a this, that, and the other thing. Go after what makes you happy, and the universe will give you what you need. If you're having monetary debt, it means that you're acting outside of what truly makes you happy. And when you do that, you send doubt. You are afraid, and you send doubt to the universe, and the universe says, oh, you want to have debt? Okay, I can give that to you. Or the universe is saying, listen, we're not going to support you if you're not following your joy. I did this for 10 years. I was married to a woman, and I lived for her. And I was miserable, and I was in debt, and I was in pain. And that was the universe saying, you're not doing what you want. We're not going to support you. Okay? So monetary debt isn't going to drain your energy. Your energy is being drained because you're in fear, and you're not doing what makes you happy. And all of the mental energy that it takes to justify to yourself why you're not following your deepest passion is draining you of your energy, and it is driving you into debt. I'm not judging you. We all do it. To learn how to be without debt and to be happy, read this book. It's entitled The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. Go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. Denny is spelled D-E-N-N-E-Y. And look for that book and buy it. And it doesn't talk about money directly, but if you follow what's in that book and you master that, you won't have to worry about money ever again. And you notice I'm not saying that you're going to be rich or win the lottery. I'm just saying you'll never have to worry about money again. Okay. Other questions? By pointing the location, you answered the question about smoking, usual smoking. Okay, I don't see the question in that. Thomas Ritchie, yes. The Matrix, first off, the Matrix is only a place you need to escape if you're not following what I just said. If you're not living your deepest soul desire, then you're uncomfortable in the Matrix. But you created the Matrix. Go to my YouTube channel, thunderwizard.com, and that's spelled Thunderwizard, D-O-T-C-O-M. Go to my channel and watch the playlists on exiting the Matrix. Find out what the Matrix is. Also watch the videos called Weird, W-Y-R-D. You created the Matrix. You are not a victim. You are not trapped. You don't need to escape. If you feel like you need to escape the Matrix, it's because you are not in alignment with yourself. When you're in alignment with yourself, you can control the Matrix, and then the Matrix is fun. But first you have to remember that you chose to be here. So you don't have to do anything boring. In fact, you shouldn't do anything boring. That isn't to say that you shouldn't have discipline, because sometimes you do need discipline. But you should do the things that are fun. I only teach things that are fun for me. All of the meditation and all the energy work is fun for me, and that's why I teach it. But if you're doing meditation and boring things, then that's only going to trap you deeper in the Matrix. So no, you can. The first thing to do, listen, if you can master this next phrase that I'm going to tell you, or whatever, string of sentences, if you can master, you'll never have to do anything else ever again. Go do what makes you happy, regardless of what anybody or anybody else says. When you're doing what's happy, what makes you happy and what is fun for you, you won't ever have to worry about anything. The whole point of life is to have fun. That's it. Everything else that I'm doing and teaching are methods that you can use to find the way back to getting connected to having fun. All right. What happens when we feel inside the spine a feeling like some helical move? You mean this happens a lot? This happens to me. You start to go like this. I guess you can go in different directions. You can go clockwise and counterclockwise. That just means that your energy is vibrating through your... There's also the central channel. So there's the path that Kundalini goes up, and then there's also the central channel, which is life force energy, when you connect all of the meridians and all that. And when that happens, the energy goes like this. And so you go in a circle. That's all it means. It just means there's a lot of energy. It doesn't mean anything in and of itself. You can have that experience and it doesn't mean anything. If it's fun, great. But ultimately it just means that energy is flowing through you. And again, when you have a powerful energy experience, like you see stars or you feel heat or you feel energy moving through you, it doesn't mean anything other than energy is moving through you. It could even mean that your energy is blocked. So, if you go, some people's body will go into spasms and some people will... It doesn't mean anything. It just means that energy is moving. Just like when you turn on the pipes in your house, the house will shake or you'll hear this sound. It just means that energy is moving. That's it. Okay, Thomas Ritchie says, your response brings me questions about moral issues. Example, if cheating your wife is what seems to be more enjoyable, is it the right thing? No, because it's not enjoyable. To be connected to your true self means that you are doing things that is fun for you. If you have to cheat on your wife, that means that you're lying to her. This is assuming that you have that agreement. There are some people that have open marriages and that's fun for them. So if you have an open marriage and your wife says, yeah, go tell me all about it, film it and come back and tell me about it, then, then it's not cheating. If that's fun for you guys, then go do it. But if you have to cheat on your wife, meaning that you're lying to her and you're going behind your back, then that means that you don't trust what you're doing. It means that you don't respect what you're doing. It means that you are, at the very least, it means that you are a slave to your wife and you hate her, and out of resentment, you're going to go cheat on somebody else. So if you're that unhappy, then leave. Be honest with yourself and leave. And if you don't have the guts to leave, then then make it work. But when it comes to listen, now you may be just asking as an example, but bottom line is, doing anything that's outside of your integrity that harms other people is harmful to you, and that's not fun. That's escaping your feelings. That's escapism. So true fun would be, in that example, and I've been there, you're married to somebody and you don't love them and the sex is horrible, or they're not having sex with you, or they don't support you, and you're miserable and you've tried to work it out. I tried for 10 years to work it out with my now ex-wife, and nothing worked. We went to counseling, we went meditation together, we did everything together, and it didn't work. Nothing I could do made her happy. I was miserable, she was miserable. And it never entered my mind to cheat on her. Because once I realized that I was miserable, and she was the one that broke it off because I was committed to making it work. But once it came to the point when I realized that by staying with her I was going to damage myself, then I owned up and we decided to break it off. But that, if you're that unhappy, then own it, be honest with yourself, and then get back in alignment with yourself. That doesn't mean you're not going to go through difficulties and challenges, but that's the same as, I think drinking alcohol and getting, super drunk is fun. It's not fun. You may escape your feelings, but it's not truly fun. It's not fun after a while. So talking about doing what makes you happy, doing things that actually make you happy. You know what I mean? So your example is about doing things that give you immediate pleasure that take you out of your feelings, and that's not having fun. Your true joy is not connected to that. How to deal with blocked energy? First and foremost, do what I just said. Go after what makes you happy. Second, get my DVD. This is the most powerful energy work I know of. It's called Celestial Qigong. There are plenty of other things out there, but this is the one that I recommend. Let's see, can I find it? Why do all my... Oh, there it is. Do this. Type in Celestial Qigong into Amazon, it'll come up. That'll open your energy up. That's one way. I mean, there are plenty of other ways, but that's the fastest way I know of. What about being good to other people, even if you don't really want? Give some money to homeless people. No, if you're doing it don't do anything out of guilt. Don't do anything out of guilt. If, I don't know why that person is on the street. Are they on the street because they're a drug addict? They're going to take your money and then go, get a fifth of Jack Daniels or Thunderbird, or get $10 of crack. I don't know why they're on the street. So, don't do anything out of guilt. All right, what happens when you feel your body is vibrating or pulsing? Same thing. It's just energy moving through your body. You might have an energy block, or you might be getting used to energy. That's all. It's just energy moving through your body. There's nothing fancy about it. It's not good or bad. You go to the gym, you lift weights, you feel a pump, there's a lot of blood in your muscles. Doesn't mean anything, it just means that you've got blood in your muscles. That's it. You know, I get that too. It means that you're probably, your meridians are opening, and so lots of times when you're asleep, your energy will balance itself out and your body will, just means that energy's moving through your body. That's all. Okay, so I'm running out of time. We've gotten to now, we're going to get to the next ones. Let's see what's next. Okay, so the third eye is unity and then infinity. So when you get past this point here, when you get past this point and you no longer need to teach, you no longer have this need to get it out and to explain things. And as you can see, a lot of things that you ask me questions, I say, who cares, what's the difference? So it's obvious that some of these things I've gotten past the need to explain. And, you know, when you finally get past all of that, then you get to this place of, you know what, I'm just going to, you know, you're going to figure it out. You're no different than me. There's nothing I can say that somebody else hasn't already said. You know, it's out there. You go figure it out. I'm going to go connect to the universe. And so that's when people connect, then their third eye opens and they become one with everything. They're still in their body, but then they're able to, you know, supposedly travel out of the body and all. And I've done all that, and big deal, who cares? It's fun, but ultimately, you know, it doesn't mean anything. It's just another experience. So you get to this point of unity where you realize that you are everything and everything is you, and that you are God. You realize that you've created this entire universe. You've created the matrix. You don't need to escape. You don't need to be immortal and achieve enlightenment. You don't need to stay in the body. You can do either or both. It doesn't matter. You become Shiva at that point. And then we reach infinity, which is the crown chakra, which technically isn't a chakra. You know, the real chakra stuff happens the first 5, kind of the 6th, but once you get up here, you're not really dealing with chakras anymore. The Kundalini has achieved complete maturity. And what people don't tell you is that when the Kundalini goes all the way up, it then has to go all the way back down. And when it's going all the way up and then gone all the way back down again in the body, then you've achieved enlightenment. Then your chakras are completely open. Then you have become a completely enlightened human being. And then you don't have any need to do anything. That's why I say if you meet people who are truly enlightened, they'll never let you know. They don't care. They're the people who sit on their porch and make cookies and look at the sunset, and they don't care about anything. They're just in the moment having a good time. And a true teacher, a true enlightened master, you know, will be somebody that will just make you feel good about being in your body right then and there. Maybe they have something fun to say. Maybe they have a cute little anecdote. Maybe they you know, they just don't care. Those are the truly enlightened people that are happy and don't care. And again, I'm not talking about denial. Denial says, I'm happy all the time. I'm joy. I'm in love and light. Everything is beautiful. Those are people who are in denial. And those are people who are way deep into, they haven't even got out of their root chakra yet. They're deeply in fear. They're in tend or befriend. It's either fight or flight or tend or befriend. When you're living in your root chakra, which is your amygdala, which is your reptilian brain, you're either operating from fight or flight or tend or befriend. You're either fighting everybody or you're kissing everybody's rear end. So that's love and light. Everything's love and light. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, so we've walked through all of the 7 chakras. I do need to get off of this pretty quick because I have another radio interview in about a half an hour. So I'm going to spout off again for another hour after this. So let me see if there are any questions here. Can different chakras be at various stages of open and closed? Yes, they're all at various stages. You can't, it's not like this one's open and all the rest are closed. There's various levels. So yeah, let's demystify all that. Just become a mature, happy human being and your chakras will open. It's right to say that if your chakras are open, you become enlightened. Yes, but all that means is that you've become a fully functioning, mature human being, nothing else, and you're happy. That's it. This is a stretch, but could achieving Kundalini be a personal Ragnarok? Yes. A gateway to evolution, then you drop back to beginning to start to climb again with new understanding? Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's a continuous process. That's why when you get to the top, you have to go back down. The people who are doomed to reincarnate are the ones who say they don't want to come back. The ones who say, you know what, I can take it or leave it, I'm happy to come back or not, those are the ones that don't have to come back. Do all the chakras feel the same when opened? When the chakras are opened, you don't feel anything. If you feel something, it means the chakras are blocked. They might be opening, but it just means that a lot of energy is moving through. So people who say, I can feel my third eye opening, doesn't mean anything. It just means a lot of blood is flowing to this area. Oh, my heart chakra is opening. No, it just means that a lot of blood is flowing there. You know, sometimes when you have emotional experiences, you can feel the heart chakra, but it means that it's opening. It's not fully enlightened. It means you have more to go. So don't get wrapped up in the physical sensations. It means nothing. Kundalini yoga is enough to get this? Sure, Kundalini yoga is like any other thing. It's just another tool. Sure, why not? Okay, so I think that's it. I'm going to do some more business and think about what I'm going to say at the end here. By the way, the chakras, if you want to learn how to open the chakras in a meditative way, a great way that is a lot of fun, go to chakras.kundalini, sorry, go to chakras.thunderwizard.com, chakras.thunderwizard.com, and I talk in depth about what the chakras are and what you can do, what exercises you to empower them, and all that kind of stuff. Chakras.thunderwizard.com. Okay, let me think about how I want to end this. Okay, the last question I'm going to take is, Richie says, again, Thomas Richie, I'm assuming that you're new to my channel. Go back and watch all my videos. It'll answer probably all of your questions. But you ask, to be an effect of weed while Kundalini is helpful during the process? No. I just got through talking about that. That if you're going to do energy, you got to pick one. Either smoke weed or do energy work. Either smoke weed or do yoga. Either smoke weed or do qigong. Either smoke weed or meditate. Don't do both. Weed is at best fun, and at worst it will sap all of your energy out of your aura, and it will stunt your emotional growth. Having said that, marijuana has all kinds of medicinal benefits. So I'm not saying don't use it. I'm not even saying don't smoke weed. But if you're going to do it, go have fun. It's like if you want to, go out and get drunk and at night and party, then go do that. But you wouldn't drink a six-pack and then do Kundalini yoga, right? So don't. You do one or the other. That's basically what I'm saying. Have fun or do energy work, or have fun doing energy work. That's why I don't drink. That's why I don't smoke weed. Because it gets in the way of what I enjoy. I get a lot more personal benefit when I don't do those things. That's why I don't do it. Having said that, if you want to do it, go have fun. Okay, so that's it. Again, if you want to really learn some of these things, the techniques behind all of these things, go to thunderwizard.com and sign up at whatever level you want. At the $25 level, you get access to weekly videos where I go in depth on the procedures, the rituals, how to do it. To learn more about the chakras, go to chakras.thunderwizard.com. Having said that, my friends, I have to get ready for another interview, so I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much, and I shall talk to you soon. That's it for now. Remember the chakras, don't worry about the chakras, just live your life, be happy, have fun, and the chakras will open all by themselves.